Welcome to Talking Synths, episode number 33. You'll notice there are three of us here today.
I'm 33 years old.
All right.
33.
We can take that part out, though.
Yeah.
I'm Sam.
I'm Carlos.
And this is Jonray Higginbotham from the band Moonray.
Yes.
And owner of how many synthesizers? I bet you don't even know.
I don't know, maybe 42 or something.
More
Wow.
than one.
And we're not talking little MG1 here and whatever. We're talking some pretty big dog stuff. And so
What do you got against the MG1?
I love the MG1.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
But we're talking things like Moog 1, CS80, Colossus.
Yes.
So tell about your place.
So Moonlab Studios is a rebrand of our former studio, Kingdom Sound. My wife and I, Barbara, who's out there with our son, we got the synth fever about 4 years ago, really, and we had a little synth duo. We were playing with a micro Korg, and she had a Sub 37, and we just started going down the synth rabbit hole, and we're like, I want to find out who, what kind of synths are they using in Erasure? I mean, what are they using in that song in Duran Duran, Rio? You know, like what was that? What's this? And we just started diving down a rabbit hole of exploring that, and started acquiring one by one. And we sold 4-wheelers and jet skis and some.
Turn them all into synthesizers.
Yeah, we turned them all into synthesizers, and we've just been going across state looking for good deals and picking up Prophet 10 we drove to Wisconsin for, and snagged that for about $4K, and it came with the drum tracks. And now
nice.
he recently tried to purchase that once, I think, for about 15. So they're going for a lot. So it's been a good investment along the way. But we've initially wanted to create a spot once we started collecting all these synths, we were like, what are we doing with this many synthesizers? This is we're greedy. And so we already had the recording studio, but it was kind of branded as a folk studio, kind of indie rock, not so much synthesizers. And we saw a missing gap in Austin. There wasn't really a synth-based studio,
right.
So now we had a reason to keep being greedy and acquiring more synthesizers, but we wanted to create a space for people to come in and experience these awesome legends and record music with it. Barbara and I love audio. We do live sound and studio work and in our band, so we're pretty much eat, sleep, and breathe music, and we thought, what a better way to grow a cool spot that people can come experience history and make memories.
and it is very impressive. You walk in and there are synths everywhere, and really neat synths everywhere. And I think one cool thing about your place is you can pretty much count on that everything there works correctly and is going to be great. You can plug it in and play. Yeah,
that's a 95%. You know, by the time you start getting everything tweaked, you know, and then we have the 4-voice. The CO2 starts dying out, and that's
when you have that type of instrument, 95% is pretty good.
And you can still work it because, you know, it's like, you can just use the other 3 voices, or what we've been doing for the past 6 months is just you turn it on and it doesn't happen for the first 20 minutes. So each problem usually has a weird quirk about it that you can work around it. But yes, we try to keep everything in the studio completely calibrated, tuned, and Barbara says I'm a little obsessive sometimes because I'm like sitting there with my ear. I'm like, does that sound off to you? Is that LFO speed a little bit different on this note? CS80 was one that's particularly challenging, and we just had it overhauled, but it's still, you know, the ride home, it requires a little more love.
it traveled halfway across the country, and
it needs to be calibrated again by the time
So for those of y'all who didn't catch it, where are y'all located?
We are in Austin, in South Austin, and it's a private studio, so we're like appointment only, but you can find us on Instagram, Moonlab Studios Austin, and we're on Facebook. And we do have a website out there. You can shoot us an email, message us on our Moonray page as well. You can say, hey, Moonray, can we come check out your studio? And it's kind of how it works. And
it's very well worth checking out.
Thank you so much.
So what's your favorite thing in there?
Out of the whole thing, it's really hard to pick a favorite. I have to say the 4-voice is probably our favorite, so it's not in there anymore. Now it's in here.
Well, just temporarily.
It's a magical keyboard. It doesn't have a lot of features a lot of modern synths have, but there's something so magical about it. That just the ability to kind of create 4 different sounding synthesizers and then play in polyphonic, put different LFO speeds on each voice. Something I like to do on that one is like on the lower note, have that LFO going real slow and then gradually each voice a little bit faster, and it sounds so lush and beautiful.
Yeah.
We loved that synth so much we had a replica made for our wedding cake. It was
nice.
a half scale
Yeah.
by Cakes Rock. Yeah, I mean, if you look on our Moonray page, if you scroll down enough, I mean, you can see it. It's very accurate. It's cool. I felt really guilty cutting into it. It's like, can I just save this forever? But nope, we had to do it.
Yeah.
But that's probably a favorite.
That is awesome.
I don't know many people that would have a 4-voice for a wedding cake. So
Yep.
my compliments.
Yeah, thanks. Actually, the Tom Oberheim ended up seeing it, and he has a guy that works with him, and I can't remember his name right now, but we follow him, and he's one of the distributors for some of his gear, and he's doing like the Super 6 too. But really cool guy. He posts really interesting stuff on Instagram, but he messaged us, and he's like, hey, can you please send me a high resolution photo of that cake? Mr. Oberheim wants it. And I was like, absolutely. Yeah, sure.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was cool.
So what else do you love in there immensely?
Well, the Schmidt 8-voice synth is pretty awesome. It's probably one of my favorite modern synths, although
Yeah.
Carlos has me really
Yeah.
looking at this Waldorf Quantum now, which is, I haven't got to spend any time with that, so
That's my baby. That's when we close for the day, I usually sneak up here at night and try to figure out new tricks on it. And
Yeah.
it's really captured my imagination.
Sonically, it's stunning. I mean, just the 10-15 minutes of what you showed me
Yeah.
on there, I was really blown away with it. But yeah, the Schmidt's really cool. It's huge. I guess I like that it's really big. It sits in front of you, and the oscillator 4 is really special. You get like these FM tones out of it, but it's completely analog, and it sounds very whimsical. It's almost like a medieval sounding synthesizer, although it can do bread and butter sounds, but it has like this whimsical medieval charm about it. I don't know exactly why. It's just maybe it's just my own personal thing. But we have lots of great stuff. It's really hard to pick. Which we have an Oberheim section where we have a Matrix 12, 8-voice, 4-voice, and an OBX, all on the rack, and it's MIDI. Everything's MIDI. So if you want to, in the control room or from multiple areas inside the studio, you can play all the synths in the studio at the same time with MIDI if you want to hear what every. But it's really cool actually to do that with just the Oberheim section. Put 2 or 3 synths on the same channel and just sculpt some crazy pads or really huge unison lead lines. You can get some really massive stuff. Yeah. It's pretty cool to do. But
That sounds great.
and we have ISO booth too, and we do all sorts of recording. We have awesome mic selection, tube microphones and tube mic preamps and stuff like that. A wall of guitar amps. We're pretty much probably have it, and if we don't, we can have it over for your session if you're interested in recording with something like that.
Yeah. That's one cool thing about Austin. There's so much stuff around the Austin area, and if you need it, you're likely to find it.
You're very likely to
somewhere
find
there.
it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, and session musicians they're not shy either.
Yeah.
Especially now with everything coming back, people are eager and ready to make things happen.
Yeah. So, Colossus?
Colossus, yes, that's a recent one, and it's amazing and frustrating at the same time. Well, because I'm just modulars, and the ARP 2600 still gives me headaches and confusion sometimes. But I mean,
And you have 2 of those, right?
yes, we have 2 of those there, and we had a third, a Korg, but right now we just have the 2, and the ARP mixer that you're doing a refurb for us as well. But the Colossus, we've got it patched. I can do basic patching on it, and it sounds incredible. But there's a lot that I'm trying to learn, and I guess throwing in learning modular and a newborn baby is a little challenging. But I'm loving it. It's a beautiful synth. We're very lucky to have it here, and we're hoping someone wants to come along and help us learn it a little more. One of our guests.
And there are a very small number of those around, right? I don't remember what the number is.
I
but-
think we have number 20, but I follow Tom Analog Solutions on socials, and he seems to be shipping out quite a bunch. I mean,
Oh, really?
Nice.
I think he said maybe 16 of those are here in the States, but I don't know if that's accurate completely. But
and
they're
quite
not too many of them. It's a
Yeah.
big synth. They had to be crated over, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's massive. You need to have help bringing it inside.
Yeah.
The name is very fitting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you say quite a bunch of them, that's kind of different terms from when you say quite a bunch of DX7s out there.
Yes. Yeah.
Quite a bunch is still probably in
You-
double digits, right?
Double digits still, I imagine. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think he's broken into triple digits yet, but I bet he will. It seems to be growing pretty fast.
Good.
That's awesome.
His smaller synths too sound quite incredible. He gave us a free fuse box.
Oh, wow.
No, it might not have been the fuse box. It's a smaller white one. I can't remember the name, but it sounds really good. It's like one little section sliced from the Colossus, pretty much.
I've heard a lot of great things about that fuse box.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's some cool demos online, and I don't think the one that I have is a fuse box. I'm pretty sure now it's smaller. The fuse box is the orange one, right?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, one of them takes batteries. I think that's
Yeah.
might be the fuse box. But
What would you say is the synth that surprised you the most?
let's see. There's a lot of synthesizers. A lot of surprises. Usually get some wow faces on all of them. Let's see. I'm going through all of them. to see
You
which
got to go
ones-
through the Rolodex.
They've all been pretty surprising.
Yeah.
I think I was surprised most when I first got our ARP 2600. I just didn't realize how like relevant it sounded or could sound,
Uh-huh.
and really how versatile it, like all the different sounds you can do with it, percussive drums. At the time when I had first gotten it, I didn't really know all what it was capable of. I thought of it more of just like a mono lead kind of synth.
Right.
And then once I found out, I didn't even know at the time that it was made for the R2D2 noises,
Yeah.
which immediately went and tried to figure it out.
Yeah.
I think everyone did.
Yeah.
But that's a very surprising synth. One, I mean, it's 47 or so years old. They're used in so many different sounds today that are modern, and it's such a huge part of history.
Yeah.
I think that one is really cool, and it surprises me to see it inspiring reissues to come
Yeah.
back.
And very popular reissues.
Very popular
Yeah.
reissues that are
Yeah.
climbing in prices to close to the original.
Yeah. I think we got 13 of them or something like that.
13 and number 14 is still on the...
Yeah. And we went through them in 18 hours. They were all
Okay.
sold.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they went quick.
Yeah.
They did, and I'm hoping to see a lot more reissues come out. The Prophet 5 is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's actually one I was really impressed with how close it sounded. We have a Prophet 10 reissue, and then it's right above our Prophet 10.
Uh-huh.
And I've created a few patches just trying to get them to sound identical. If you close your eyes, I can still kind of, maybe I do it because I can feel the keys and I know, but
Yeah.
I have to get my wife to do it and see if I can tell a difference.
Yeah.
I still think I might could, but maybe not.
That's good, though. I mean, if it's that close.
It is that, yeah, it is
Yeah.
really amazing sounding.
Do
And
you ever use the sequencer on your Prophet 10?
I do.
You
I love it. We have a drum tracks, and luckily our sequencer works. I haven't had to put $1 into that Prophet 10 yet. Oh no, I did. That's not true. I did. We paid our buddy Joey to do key bushings
Yeah.
on it, but that's it.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
When they needed
standard
it, was
fare.
like they were stiff,
Yeah.
and it's amazing. So yeah, the sequencer is great. It's super creative. There's a couple of videos on our Moonlab page of me messing around with it.
I have to check that out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to come by and
We have the sequencer here, the standalone
Yes.
sequencer, and for the life of us, we have not been able to get it to work.
okay. Well, I thought so the same on ours too, and I thought there was something the tape had to be playing for it to work, but no, the tape is just for saving the data.
Yeah.
And then you load it on, which I just find it's easier for that one just to keep it as a fresh slate every time, and
Yeah.
I don't save anything. But and I didn't know how to use it for a long time either. My buddy Joey actually helped me
You get Joey over here.
learn it. Well, I know how to use it now. I can
Yeah.
probably show you.
Yeah.
The tape, you send the clock signal to it, and then you hit the key, and then you just start playing,
Yeah.
and then you hit I have to see it in front of me, but you play your line and you kind of got to time it out yourself, and then on that last loop around, like you would a loop pedal, hit the sequence button, and then it plays the loop. And sometimes it takes a few times to get it to be super quantized, but it's awesome. It's a lot of fun.
So because you obviously play, what was your introduction to music?
Well, my mom, she listened to music she was a kind of a hippie child, and had me at the age of 23, and I spent a lot of time in blues bars, believe it or not. I love blues music, cool. And I got to play with Burt Wills when I was 5 on stage a few times, harmonica, and I saw Stevie Ray Vaughan. I can remember seeing him when I was little, and she noticed that I started being able to tap rhythmically on stuff, and she said she knew I was going to be a musician whenever I was in her womb, but I'm not sure if that was it, or if she just she wanted me to be, and she piled musical instruments into my hands, which I'm thankful for. I've really never wanted to be or do anything else my whole life, which is been awesome. Slightly stress-free, but then also very stressful, because doing anything with music is difficult. Or it can be. But
and this last year made even more difficult.
Yes, but also very much more inspiring, and realizing that you make more of the time you have available. It's like, I got 2 hours, I got to get in and track that bass line or whatever, and then you get it done instead of lollygagging around. But it's definitely an adjustment. But my whole life I just played music, guitar, piano, and then Barbara got me really... I had a synthesizer before I married Barbara, but she really turned me on to a lot of 80s music, which I was super thankful for. And I didn't really realize how many synthesizers were already in music that I grew up listening to. That it's kind of like, Neil Young, or like the Pink Floyd. And, there was like... The Who, they have... It's like, I didn't know if those were guitar tones or what they were really, but once I found that out, and I was like, man, these have been just missing from my life. And I love all things musical. Why don't I have a million of these things? Now we're getting close to...
with all the studio stuff and all the keyboards to make sure everything's working, do you ever find yourself thinking, this is great, but I don't have enough time to actually make music?
Often I wonder, I'm like, what am I doing? This takes a lot of responsibility. We call ourselves sometimes, we like to think of ourselves as guardians of these synthesizers, not really owners. We want to take care of them and move them on for the next generations to love and enjoy. And it does. I also feel a very strong responsibility to learn all of them, and and know everything well enough to teach it. And that's something I have to kind of calm down on, because it's really hard to force yourself to learn. You need more learn a few steps at a time, and then put it into experience. I feel like that might be the best way. Maybe not for everybody, but it is overwhelming to bounce back and forth between learning. And when we found carving out a schedule, so it's like, this is writing time, or this day we're going to be focusing on working on music and stuff. And we're finding the balance.
I can't imagine that's so true about learning the ins and outs of a synthesizer really well. It takes a lot of time, and
I'm not so sure it can be done completely. I mean, you can, I guess, all of the functions and stuff, but explore all of the possibilities. I mean, maybe
and put them into practice.
A Juno, you could. But you get into stuff like this or quantum or like modular, and it's like, I really want to start learning. This is something I don't know too well yet, is how to make percussive sounds with synthesizers. I can get a good kick drum sound, and but doing it where the sequencer is sitting at to an ARP 2600, do like a kick, snare, and hi-hat or something, all on the 3 VCOs.
What's really great for that is the DFAM. The little drummer from Another Mother,
because it's
nice. Nice little semi-modular. But you can do little tricks like that where you have a sequence running, but then how you're turning the knob, and you can turn the noise in there, and you can kick it in as the envelopes are moving, and you can do kick, snare, even though it's a 2 VCO little semi-modular synth.
That is super cool. I'll have to check one of those out.
We'll fire it out.
Yeah, we don't have that one yet. Love Moog stuff though.
So I thought it was interesting. Also, you were saying that your studio was primarily folk oriented.
It was in Kingdom Sound. I moved to Austin almost 8 years ago, and I started as a folk project, mandolin, acoustic guitar, Rhodes piano, kind of Neil Young, Americana, Americana rock more, I guess, with hints of folk than folk. But that's what I was familiar with, so that's what I recorded and had most experience with. And when synthesizers changed all of that, I was like, wham!
do you think the two roads will ever cross? Folktronica?
They do. Some in Moonray, in our duo project Moonray, some people say there's like these folk styles. Maybe that is true. It's hard to pull it out of me as a songwriter. Like Neil Young, I'm a huge fan of the song, and he did a trance album, which was Synths. I don't know if you've heard it.
No, I haven't. I'll have to check that out.
A lot of people hated it. I actually think he got sued over it because it didn't sound like Neil Young, and he won because he is Neil Young.
Yeah,
sued by the record company.
By the record company. Yeah. I think it was that album, but we have it on vinyl, and I love it. Some of the songs are a little quirky and slightly cheesy, but I like it a lot. And it was cool to see him do something different.
Yeah,
synthesizers really awoken so much more. I mean, the acoustic guitar is awesome too, but you can run that through a synth.
Yeah,
and the sonic potential for them is that's what's so.
One of my favorite things right now is I've been running the Rhodes through the filter and the echo on the Matriarch. And
I bet that sounds amazing. Before I leave, I would love to hear that.
Yeah, it's my favorite thing to do right now.
The Mark II is nice. We have the 73, but I've heard the Mark IIs have a little more bite. I'm not sure if that's the case with y'all's. But
try it out.
Yeah,
and see.
I'd love to.
Yeah,
and I like the Matriarch in black. That looks very clean.
Yeah,
it's nice.
All the things.
All the things.
Our friend Sunshine, he calls house music like the last great American folk music, coming out of Detroit. And kind of folk for the modern day.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, it kind of made that
perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. Oh. You have a lot of awesome stuff around here. It's hard when I walked in. It's like, well, I don't know where I should land first. Chroma over there with an expander, Cat, which that was a killer episode on the synth Wizards.
Yeah, we had fun with that.
Yeah, that was great. And I guess I'm the cat person. I don't let my cats on my synths though, but they do get up there. It makes me mad.
Do you post a lot of pictures of them on your synthesizer?
Not on Ever, no.
No.
No, but they are in the backgrounds of a lot of our photos there.
Yeah. I think I'm traumatized because a lot of times when a synthesizer gets on our bench, it's been neglected for a period of time, and the sheer amount of cat hair that I have cleaned,
that's proof,
out of keyboards, it's just like I can't.
Synth lovers love cats, or they don't.
But cat pee is the worst
Have
thing
you got
ever,
that in a synthesizer?
I wouldn't be surprised.
I know we have before you were here.
Yeah.
Cats can hold grudges. I would think that the owner might have been a jerk if they peed in your synth.
But it can be really corrosive and terrible for synthesizers.
No, yes.
And if you don't know, now you know.
Yes. Luckily, we have a cat door that goes out into the garage, and it's far away from the recording equipment.
Nice.
So what's the quirkiest synth you have in there?
Quirkiest
or just rattle off some more of what you have.
What we have. So we have
list.
We got the Colossus. We have the Prophet 10 vintage, the Prophet 10 reissue, Jupiter 4, 6, 8, a Juno 106. We have the Moog 1. We have a Lamb Memory Moog. We have a Vocoder VP330, 2 ARP 2600s, 4 voice, OBXA, OB8, Matrix 12, OBX. Did I say that already?
I think so.
I think all the major Oberheim ones we have, except for the little SP, or I can't think of the name of it now.
The single voice with the patch.
We don't have that one either. The other polyphonic one.
Yeah.
It's got like a flat top. It's really cool. I've heard really good things about it. Just the real simple controls on it, but
not a Matrix 6.
No, we don't have the Matrix 6 either. We have the Matrix 12.
Yeah.
We have Prophet 6.
Which is way better than 2 Matrix 6s.
I've heard it is.
Yeah.
I've heard it's better. I like the keyboard and it's the aftertouch on it. It sounds amazing.
Yeah.
That's another synth that we have not fully learned completely because the menu diving on is infinite. We have the manual for it though. All of our synths come with the manual, so if you ever want to come by and just learn one of them or spend time, you can do that as well.
Yeah. My problem, I had a couple of Matrix 12s and regret selling the last one. I wish I had it back. But the same thing, I never really learned it well. And the problem was that every time I would start playing it, just on the first patch, I would get stuck and I would just.
That's how it's been for us too, especially if you get on the multi-mode patches. Yeah. It's like you're gonna spend all night on the first one you hit.
Yeah, it just sounds so.
There's a very,
gorgeous.
I guess the brass timbre on them are just. It sounds unlike anything, any of the other Oberheims to me. It's very amazing.
Yeah, I really miss mine.
Well, if you ever want to borrow one, you can.
Oh, don't tempt me.
But we have drum machines too. We have the LM1, the Lindrum, the 808, 909, 727, 707, drum tracks, the Oberheim Stretch that you sold us for $1,000, $900 3 years ago. I think it's worth about $3,000 now. Thank you.
Oh, this stuff is a good investment.
It is a good investment. It truly is. And just like our Jupiter 8, for instance, I was ashamed that we had paid a lot of money for it 4 years ago. And we were actually at Reverb. I was waiting. I would check often for someone to pay more than me because I kind of felt bad. I was like, am I an idiot for paying this much for our studio to have one? It was in really good condition. It's almost mint. But sure enough, now it's worth almost double what we paid, which is insane.
And how long ago did you buy it?
3.5 years ago. Yeah. We paid $18,000 for it, which is a lot. But one just sold for $29,000 on Reverb, and it was in excellent condition.
Man.
Ours was definitely. There's one listed for $60,000 right now on there, but maybe he's seeing into the future. Who knows?
Or maybe no one will buy it for that. But
does it have the box? I at least want the box.
But a bunch of years ago, my dad gets the Wall Street Journal, and he sent me an article about an investor and his portfolio. And he's got real estate, he's got stocks, he's got bonds. But the story was his best investment was vintage guitars. They paid so much better than all the rest. And I thought, the same thing is true of synthesizers.
Absolutely. We sold a little bit of stock to buy synthesizers, and I wondered if it was a bad decision because they were blue chip stocks. And wow, I mean, it was the best decision because the investment's worth double what it was on a lot of the gear, and some of it more. I mean, you really can't go wrong. I don't really see that ever changing as long as people start making music, keep making music, because it's.
I hear people on the forums saying, "Oh, prices are so high, and the bubble's gonna burst." And well, they've been saying that for a lot of years now.
I don't believe it's the case with gear. I just don't with. Stocks and real estate fluctuation, maybe there's a slight fluctuation with the synthesizers, but people always will pay money for good, valuable items, and they're especially with all the reissues coming out and the awareness of synthesizers. And I just don't ever see it stopping.
And things like the Jupiter 8 are collectible.
It is.
I mean, not only is it a fantastic instrument, but
we get angry messages sometimes saying those belong in a museum. I was like, well, it is kind of a museum. Come by. But when they see it on our band or whatever, they don't know we'd also do it as a side business. But a business, and it's
belong in a museum where they won't be played.
That's always my comeback. It's like, why? So it doesn't get any love.
and the contacts get dirty and whatever.
And
synthesizers need to be played.
Yes, I've heard actually it's better. Well, I know from experience you need to turn them on once in a while to keep the juices flowing through it to keep them.
Yeah, and a lot of keyboards like the old Pratt Reed with the wire contacts. If you don't play them, that when you turn them back on, they're not going to play well. So the solution is play them a lot.
You keep them going.
Yes.
So we will continue to be accumulating them and guardians of them, and continuing to share them with everyone that wants to come by and cut a record with them or just listen.
That's awesome.
I can't think of better guardians. So
thank you.
One more time, how to get in touch with you if people want to when they're in the Austin area?
Yes. So we are. Our website is www.bookingatmoonlabstudiosaustin.com. Actually, that may be wrong. My wife does the email stuff. But we're at Moonlab Studios, Austin. And
we'll put a link in the description.
To put that on the screen.
And you can also hit us up on Moonray. That's an easy one to find. That's our band. And it's our band's private studio. So you can message us through there and set up an appointment or...
There you go.
New music coming soon?
Yes, we are working on new music. We released our debut EP in 2020 called Honeymoon. And
Nice.
then that was a little story of Barb and our relationship and story of our love. And lots of synthesizers, lots of the synthesizers we mentioned are all over it. And vocoder. And then we released 2 after that, singles, and we're about to release another single in the next month or so.
Great.
Excited to get it out.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Well, Jonray, thanks so much for being with us today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me out.
Oh, and thank you for being custodian for all those wonderful synths. And yeah, it's a true synthesizer wonderland. So get in touch if you want to experience it firsthand. All right.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks to all you people for supporting us. Thanks to our Patreon people. And if you need parts for your synthesizer, Syntaur.com. And
I'm going to get some shirts too before I leave.
And with that, we'll modulate. Until next time.
Modulator.